Session 2 is dedicated to local governments. It aims to share about the contributions of migrants to economic and social development through job creation, entrepreneurship, and social innovation in Boston. I'm pleased to invite the representative of local governments to join the main table. Mr. Carlo DeMaria, Mayor of City of Everett, Mrs. Irma Flores, Community Engagement Specialist of City of Somerville, and Mrs. Margaret Shepard, Framingham City Council of City of Framingham. They are accompanied by the moderator and keynote speaker, Mr. Alvaro Lima, Director of Research for the Boston Planning and Development Agency. Thank you, all of you.
I will facilitate this panel. I will introduce our panelists and make very brief remarks. Each one of the panelists have 10 minutes to speak, and then I will close and open for questions. We have here Mayor Carlo DeMaria, the city of Everett. Currently, he's in his 5th term and was elected to the office of mayor in 2007. He has a record of public service. He began over a decade early when he won the city on the city council at the age of 20, a lifelong resident of the city, is a proud graduate of Everett High School and holds a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice from Northeast University. Irma Flores was born in El Salvador. She has been working with an immigrant communities for almost 14 years as community organizer. She currently is serving as community engagement specialist and Spanish liaison for the city of Somerville at the Somerville program. Margaret Shepard is an active member of the Brazilian community. She has been assisting card holders to apply for citizenship. She has been helping DACA students for their applications. She has co-funded the movement Brazilians for Political Education, and recently she was elected City Council for Framingham and is the first Brazilian-American citizen to be elected to government in this position in the United States. I will just make a few remarks on the topic, and I'm going to focus mostly on the economy, in partly because I'm an economist and that is my bias, but partly because I think most of what we do with programs, language programs or workforce development, are tools to integrate mainly immigrants in the labor market. So one way of seeing what is the role of immigrants is to look what is their contribution in the labor market. And by labor market, I mean the economy as a whole, as laborers, as workers, as entrepreneurs, as consumers. What is their role in the economy? One thing that in general we don't see much is what is the role of immigrants to the growth of the population. What's the same thing as asking what is the role of immigrants to the economy? Because the labor force growth is conditioned to the growth of the population. In this way, the history of our cities, Boston, Somerville, Framingham, Everett, are intertwined with the history of immigrants. If you look, for example, at Boston, Somerville, and Framingham, today our populations are between 25 to 28% are immigrants, and this will have a huge impact in the labor market. If you look at Everett, the foreign-born population has skyrocketed from 8% in 1980 to 41% in 2006. So it's an incredible growth for the city. If you look at the, to have an example, to make this clear, if you look, for example, at the population of Boston, if you net the immigrant population, we will have today the same population that we had in 1980. And for those of you that were here in 98 or knows Boston in 98, it was a disastrous a moment for the city of Boston. You were actually losing population to the suburb, the economy was shrinking, the housing market was in shambles. So all this growth, it's growth of immigrant population in growing the city and growing the economy. Yeah. If you can translate the growth of the population into the growth of the labor market, because immigrants, once your population grows, you grow the labor market, you can have, if you were to measure today the output of Boston, that's mainly a proxy for our standard of living. If you had no immigrants in the labor market of Boston, our standard of living will be 24% lower. So it's the integration of immigrants is the integration of all of us, because that's an impact in the labor market, in productivity, and in the standard of living of the population as a whole. Despite all the discourse that we hear today. But immigrants are not integrated just as workers. They integrate also as entrepreneurs. In Boston, they own around 3,000 businesses, and these businesses themselves employ around 16,000, and most of them non-immigrants. So you have a population that, as creating business, provide also job for the economy. If you were to measure all these in dollars, the direct and indirect impact of immigrants in the city of Boston as workers, entrepreneurs, consumers, it's around $26 billion in gross domestic product and $1.5 billion in tax for the state and the federal government. But there is another, just to finish, I think there is another important role that immigrants play that in general is not part of the discussion, particularly the vicious discussion that's today. That is, when the immigrants come into this country, I came in here, I had a college degree, and I came from Brazil, and I went to public schools. I embodied a transfer of taxpayer money from the global south to the global north. If you get, for example, there was, with the Dreamers, the government in all instances has invested around $120 billion in education, health, and other expense. Their parents, in 10 years, between 2000 and 2010, that's what we measure, they embodied almost $1 trillion in education that when they work in this country, they already had. So it's a cost that the economy doesn't have to produce its own labor force. This is a blessing, but also is a curse, because the only country that could live in this situation was South Africa doing apartheid with immigrant labor from Southern Africa. I will start with Mayor DeMaria, and mainly what we wanted to hear from all of you is how you see the programs of integration in the city, in your city. What are the challenges? What are the new programs and policies that you have? And how much active is government in educating the population of the city of the importance of immigrants?
Okay. What are the problems we see in the city of Everett in regards to immigration? Is that what you...
You can also see the impact of them.
The impact, the positive impact. No. So I'm just going to read some stuff that I prepared, and then I'll answer that also. So just to let you know who really doesn't know about the city of Everett, I'll give you some information about it. First of all, let me thank Boston College for allowing me to be here today, and the Scalabrini Association for putting us on. It's so nice to see so many, to see Cardinal O'Malley and to see my priest at St. Anthony's here, both Father Gyro and Father Carlo. It's really humbling for me to be here today, especially where my parents, both born in Italy, came to America in the late 1960s, settled in Everett, very little education, and were able to put 2 boys through college, paying for those colleges, no school debt, owning homes. So my dad and mom really a true American story. So I am very partial to immigrants, and I wish I could hear what some of the people were saying on on the screen here earlier because there were some good points that I'd like to follow up on, but I'm going to just talk about the city of Everett for a little bit. Everett Diversity. Everett is a dense urban waterfront city of about 50,000 people, bordering Boston. We have long been a city of immigrants. 100 years ago, it was immigrants from Italy and Ireland. These immigrants literally built our region, laboring to construct the roads, bridges, and tunnels that are our most essential infrastructure. Thousands more excelled and contributed in every field and profession. Today, we are the most diverse of 351 cities and towns in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, according to a 2016 analysis by the Boston Business Journal. The diversity is true diversity. It is not dominated by people from any one country or region, but reflects a true mix of people from all over the world. Over 40% of our residents were born in another country, more than double the rate of foreign-born residents in the greater Boston region. In fact, it's about the same rate of foreign-born residents as New York City, the nation's melting pot. This diversity is reflected in our school children. Over 65 languages are spoken by their families. Over 56% of our residents speak a language other than English at home, a rate that is almost more than twice that of greater Boston region. Our local economy, to answer some of your questions. Our immigrants are filling two critical roles in our local economy, both by starting small businesses and creating an attractive workforce for larger employers. We do not have exact data on the exact number of businesses in our city started and operated by immigrants, but I can tell you that at least every other store that you walk by on our main street is in that category, from small groceries to restaurants to salons to bakeries. During times when the economy slows, it is the businesses that keep our storefronts filled and foot traffic flowing on our sidewalks. These businesses join a strong American tradition. Over 99% of businesses in this country are small businesses. They drive our economy and have created 64% of new jobs in this country in recent years. Additionally, the diversity of our workforce is a major asset to our economic development efforts with the largest employers. We have cultivated our hospitality economy with a $2.5 billion resort casino under construction that is poised to be a truly international destination. The resort is creating 4,500 jobs, which will be filled by people who understand cultural diversity and are fluent in a variety of languages. Our immigrant population makes us exceptionally well-suited with this region to host such a development. Our culture, we truly believe that our diversity strengthens our community. As one of the most densely populated cities in the country, we do not have neighborhoods where people of the same background live. Instead, all of our neighborhoods are integrated. This creates opportunities for frequent and formal cross-cultural interaction that truly enriches the vibrancy of our city. So that's my prepared remarks. I believe I might have answered your question in those prepared remarks. I could go on if you'd like me to. Or if you...
So why don't we go to Margaret and then
okay.
would have it more
Thank
time.
you for the time.
Thank you. Yeah.
First, I want to thank you, all of you that are here today, taking the afternoon to discuss about immigration, relate to church, relate to the Scalabrinis, and relate to the public administration. As I recall, for the past, in the past 25 years that I live in this country, I never, ever saw an event like that, reuniting different segments of the society to discuss with the administration and to see what we can do together to improve the lives of the immigrants. As in any other area, the fact that the federal government policies today are against immigrants, against diversity, have empowered us to stand up and to promote events like that. As a Catholic person, I'm proud of the Scalabrini Centers, of Father Scaravelli, to promote the event and to invite me to be here. As a Brazilian immigrant and the first Brazilian city council, I'm very happy to be here. In Framingham, although we have over 30% of immigrants in the city, we did not have any representation on the government. That's the first time that we have a voice and a place on the table, although just by one person, but I think it's the beginning. And Framingham today is doing the best to improve participation, increasing the presence of immigrants on board and commissions. It is a challenge because us, as immigrants, we lack of people that are prepared to work with the administration to set up not only policies, but to provide the work cater to our needs. So integration of work like that can help us to offer education. And that's our main need as immigrants, as a low-income residents. That's how we need to improve ourselves individually and collectively. Framingham, although didn't have before representation, always had the immigrant community in mind. And Framingham budget always was set in a higher level to the Framingham public education. We have 50% of the budget for the schools. Our schools have over 30% of students that are immigrants. We want to educate those kids. We want to provide the best chance in life they can have to succeed and to be part of society. And that's the Framingham that is being building up for the last years and now flourishing with this government. Now, the future have different venues. We have the future that each one of us envision, and the future that sometimes happen and is not that what we wish for. We need to be not only prepared as immigrants, not only to be on our bubble, on our church, on our family, but we need to connect with society in general. We need to start to be part of the discussion about the environment. We need to discuss about what kind of society we want, what kind of men we want to educate, and what kind of organizations that we want to have. So for that, each city has a major role because it's on local cities that we create regulations for the small business, that we create the path for our schools. So together we can do that. Together we can change policies and we can change legislations. Framingham is not a welcome city, legally speaking, for immigrants, as Boston is, as Somerville is. Why is that? One of the big challenges that we have is people perception. Because immigrants has a tendency to live on a bubble or on the shadows for different reasons. But when we look at the community, we need to see that we have half of undocumented and half documented people. The way we walk in society is different. As an administration, or as a church, or as an education institution, we need to understand and to be able to work with both sides of that community and provide ways to protect them both. In Framingham, there is no way that we can present right now legislation for welcome immigrants because the population is not yet educated to understand what that legislation means. But with all the voice that I have, I'm committed to promote that discussion among the City Council, among the Framingham administration, and among Framingham residents, making a point to be in every small meeting and big meeting, and always bring immigration as a theme of discussion. The only way we can have support is if we turn ourselves visible. And the only way that we can turn ourselves visible is through political education. We have hard time to understand what it is political education. Most of our community mix that with political party activism. Our first mission is to break that and really educate people to understand if we don't have representations, we can't have change. We can elect people to represent us, but they are not us. If you understand what is a heart and where your heart is, you understand that we need us to be there. The first time that I went in a hearing about the driver's license for undocumented immigrants, I was sitting where you guys are, looking at the people that were in the table, the legislators that had the power to vote to approve that bill. They all know, and they all still know today, that our people are driving. They need to drive. They need to take their children to the hospital. They need to go to the supermarket. They had the power to approve that legislation, and they did not. At that moment, I understand that if we're still sitting on that chair, we are not going to promote change. If one of us, if you don't want to sit in that chair, empower someone else that wants to do it. Because someone else can change your life, your family's life, my family's life. I'm the first Brazilian American to become a city council. And luckily today, we have another Brazilian that is candidate in California at Moderator Court. We had Stephanie that was a candidate in Everett. Although she didn't win, she's still working there with the community. We have in London a Brazilian that is going to be a candidate. So our movement for political education is making waves. And I invite you all to work with us and educate our people to represent themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Irma, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. The initial invitation was for Mayor Curtatone. Unfortunately, because he has a previous commitment, he can be here today, but we have a message for him, for all of you.
It's no secret that our immigrant communities are facing considerable challenges as a direct result of the repugnant policies coming out of Washington. From travel bans and threats to DACA to the termination of TPS, the President's administration has made it clear that they are determined to use hateful rhetoric to demonize immigrants in an attempt to overshadow the vast contributions they make to our communities. That's why events like the Boston Migration Seminar that bring together stakeholders to highlight those contributions, share best practices, and collaborate on ways to overcome obstacles are so important. While I regret that I'm unable to be there today to share and learn alongside you, I'm proud that Irma Flores, one of our Somerville community engagement specialists, is there to represent the city of Somerville and discuss the work that we do in coordination with various religious and community organizations. Thank you to all of you in attendance for being there today and for tackling this important work each and every day. I wish you a productive seminar and look forward to hearing all about it.
Well, As Mayor Curtatone mentioned, my name is Irma Flores. I am the Community Engagement Specialist for the City of Somerville as a Somerville department. In Somerville, under the Mayor's leadership, we strive to create a compassionate and tolerant community that welcomes all the people, including immigrants regardless of immigrant status. But it goes far beyond simply extending a welcoming hand to immigrants, especially now that our immigrants communities are facing such hostile threats and actions at the national level. Somerville has been an innovator city supporting the immigrant community. As a municipal government, we believe it's our role and responsibility to also help immigrants create a path to integration so they can become true members of our community, where they can benefit from all that we as a city and as a community have to offer and vice versa, so that we collectively can benefit from what they bring to the table. That starts with making sure that everyone feels protected and safe. It is why Somerville Police Department does not profile victims and treat our friends, family members, or neighbors like suspects at every turn. And contrary to what Washington will have you believe, being a sanctuary city doesn't increase crime. In Somerville, the opposite has happened. Since becoming a sanctuary city in 1987, crime is down more than 50%, making Somerville safe for all people. Next, you have to eliminate language barriers. In Somerville, there are more than 50 languages spoken on our schools. Speaking a different languages doesn't make you less a part of this community. And it essentially doesn't mean that you should be able to access to city services or participate in city events. Cities should be hiring people who speak various languages, who can engage with our immigrant communities and meet them where they are. In Somerville Department, that I am part of, we have 3 community engagement specialists, and each of us does target outreach in our 3 language areas. We translate city documents like informal posters, brochures, meetings invite, emergency communications, and more. But also, we get out of the office and out of City Hall and get into our community. For some immigrants, it can be scary coming to a government building. They are already in a new place, oftentimes surrounded by new people. So we should be meeting them where they are most comfortable, which is why partnering and cooperate with community stakeholders is crucial to supporting our immigrants communities. Whether it's doing targeted outreach at local church, interviewing on local language-specific radio stations, or teaming up with local nonprofits and educational institutions, we recognize that as a city government, we are limited in our role and have to rely on other people to help us with our immigration integration plans. And finally, you have to recognize immigrants' contributions to our society and provide the immigrants community with real, authentic opportunities to make even more contributions, whether that can be civic participation, like serving on boards, committees, and commissions, business participations, like the Somerville Art Council Nibble Food Entrepreneur Program, or even leadership training so they can develop skills they can apply in all aspects of personal and professional life. All of these steps on the path to immigration integration can set communities up for success, but they certainly don't come without challenge. You ask about challenge. So here's the challenge. Our demographics are constantly changing, especially in a place like Somerville. which means that our communities' needs are constantly changing. In order for us to best serve all residents, including our immigrant communities, which, like we say, it is an essential responsibility of local governments, we at City Hall must evolve and change too. That, of course, is much easier said than done, with limited staffing and budgetary capacity, and oftentimes outdated or incomplete data resource. Continuing to be vigilant and in tune with our communities and their needs can alleviate some of those pressures, and never discount the impact of trying to truly engage and meet people where they are. We know that communities will evolve, and engaged residents tend to be the most successful communities. So it is absolutely essential that immigrants and anyone's first interaction with their local government be a positive and inclusive experience. This sets everyone up for success and makes establishing those other pathways to immigration integration much more likely. Thank you again for having me and allow me to speak to the work we are doing in Somerville. I am honored to join this group of panelists and audience members and excited to learn about what is working in your communities. Thank you.
Very briefly, what I think I heard and from this table, and I'm sure in agreement with all of you, is the importance of immigrants for growth of the population, for the economy, the importance of the integration of immigrants, and what I heard from some of your voice, it's how important it is to integrate immigrants in the larger society, how important it is to educate the larger society about immigration and immigrants and immigrant communities. The important role of political education, and through political education, the increasing representation, the push for legislation that make our lives easier and integration more successful, policies of welcome immigrants in the city, safety, using sanctuary city or cities or other policies, partnerships with community organizations, and also one thing that I think you said last, Irma, that is the capacity of City Hall to change itself in the face of changing population. I will open for questions for the panelists.
I have a question for the mayor of the city of Everett. So you were talking about how proud the city is about having immigrants that came to the city 100 years ago. But I would like to know what are the challenges that new immigrants that are coming to your city are facing right now, particularly undocumented immigrants. And how is the connection between the city and immigration?
The challenges that undocumented residents face in Everett, I think most of them, their challenges are their status, fearing that they're going to be deported, losing their TPS or DACA status. There's a lot of anxiety with my residents right now in the city of Everett due to that rhetoric that we're getting from DC. But in the city of Everett themselves, I mean, they're very happy. You can talk to, if you know anybody who live in Everett here, that. Okay, I think for the most part, I think they're all very. Did I answer that? The challenges? Did I not answer that correctly, ma'am? Yes, you asked the question, right? So the challenges that you said that asked about the undocumented residents. I think the work. Sometimes even getting work if they're undocumented. I think they're having a hard time finding work that's. Is an issue for them. Rents are an issue. The price of housing in and around Everett and Somerville. She talked about crime going down. the price of housing in our communities is so expensive that our residents are working 2-3 jobs. There is nothing else going on in our communities, you know.
I think that gentrification is happening everywhere. I'm talking about specifically about immigration status, and also what are the efforts of the city around immigration? Like, for example, like the city of Somerville and the city of Boston are a really good example of what city governments can do to challenge the federal government, like passing local resolutions and local policies like the Trust Act, for example. Is there any effort in the city of Everett to do something like that in order to challenge the federal government and protect the rights of undocumented people?
Yeah, I think we just actually passed a local resolution recently with the help of La Comunidad on TPS and DACA. We've really stood really strong on that. We sent strong messages to Washington, to our senators, to our president on both of those issues. On my Facebook page, you can see that. We in the city are. So that's one thing we've done. I don't know where, the word sanctuary city, I know it's thrown around a lot. I look up the word definition sometimes, and I don't know what the definition is, because in Everett, I educate 8,000 kids, and I know 60, 70% of them probably have undocumented status, or, their parents weren't here legally. And we provide all the service. I do from after-school sports, pre-K, free preschool, free kindergarten programs, free evening programs for our kids, so our parents, they can work, to all kinds of activities in the city. We've hired people who speak multitude of languages that work in City Hall, that speak Haitian Creole, Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, of course. I speak that fluently. We integrate with our it's not just integrating, it's really including them. Lately, I'm trying to bring some people with diversity on some of my boards and commissions. Immigration, the whole thing about immigration, it's federal legislators that have to vote on it, right? I don't know why they're at the appetite not to let these people become citizens who are here, who want to be here, who want to pay taxes, who want to buy a home, who want to buy a car. It's stimulant of our economy. I don't get it. Is it politics? Is it voting? I bang my head. I know our legislators in Massachusetts and New York and in this whole area are all for it, but it seems like those that are maybe out west are not for it. I don't want to keep going on. I'll take all the time here, but I don't know if I answered a question.
Talking about gentrification and the issues with low-income housing, I know that the waiting list for low-income housing in all of your 3 cities are on hold right now. I was wondering, what are the cities doing to protect their low-income families and protect the immigrant community that tends to be on the lower income side from leaving the cities and from gentrification? What are the active policies to protect the most vulnerable community, like parts of the communities?
Great question. So we've done things like inclusionary zoning. We're forcing developers who are building to incorporate, a percentage of their units they build to be workforce or low-income housing. That's one thing we're doing. I don't know if the other panelists want to.
Sure. Somerville right now is working in a new program to have more inclusionary housing, and we increase with the support of the community. We increase the inclusionary numbers. So we are doing our part, trying to keep our immigrant communities in Somerville, because we know they are essential for the economy, they are essential in our schools, and they are part of the city. So that is the soul of the city, and we are doing the best we can. So, but it's not just Somerville, it's Boston. So my understanding is like a Greater Boston program where they trying to get more inclusionary housing and some affordable housing too.
I think we are running out of time. Mary, if you wanted to
We also attracting companies that come in that are actually paying better wages to provide better wages for our employees. But also another thing too is a lot of our immigrant people are living in homes together. And what we've taken the approach is that we're not looking to move them out of their properties anymore. Rather than using our code enforcement officers to push them out of units where we may have 2 or 3 families living in one unit that used to have like a 3-bedroom unit, and one family is living in that, they call it un cuadro, right, 1 bedroom. So we're working with them to we're looking at things like micro units where we can get developers to develop properties that maybe might be smaller, less square footage, so they can build something, get a return on their investment, get more units out of it, less parking requirements, so then we can put the cheaper rents for residents, things like that. We've also started like a linkage fee that so big developers right now it's in the State House, it's moving through at big developers, at big units, that some monies goes to building affordable housing units. It is a problem. We know it. Once you build a better community, like you tie the city of Everett into Boston with transportation improvements, if it's rapid bus lines, where I was supposed to be with Joe in Denver, I didn't take the plane this afternoon, fearing that of the storm. That's where I was supposed to be. But when you build a better city, you do cause problems. When you do connect the city to Boston and make it a 1-seat ride into the town, you cause housing issues. So it's a balancing game that you try to play. You want to keep your residents in the city. You want to keep your immigrant community. You want to keep young families in the city. But if you also want to make your city a better place, and then what you do sometimes by doing that, you drive rents out of sight. I appropriated $10 million above net school spending the other day to help the schools for some of these issues that we have, all these kids and stuff. But when we do that, appropriate more funds and spend more money, what do? We raise taxes. By raising taxes, what do? You raise mortgage prices and you raise rents. So it's like, you try to win, and I can go on and on. I'd love to sit down. I see you shaking your head, and I'd love to get some more information from you. But I know my policy director is probably emailing me, texting me all the things that we do for low-income housing. But I can post something after. And I don't know. If,
we are running out of time. I would like to thank all of you for your participation and thank the organizers.
Thank you.